Yep.
Perfect. So we are here today to talk about the hiring process, and we're going to hear some interesting HR and company perspectives on that topic. Just a quick introduction. My name is Lorena. Some of you may have already met me. I'm the coaching success coordinator at Upwardly Global. And could you pronounce your name for us? Sorry.
Jędrzej Pyzik.
Hendrik Pizik is a consultant with
Yeah.
fTeam, and he will be speaking on some insider tips with us. And we have Justina Bikoska, who is one of our job coaches, as well as Ivana Pavlovska, who is also a job coach. And they will also be chiming in to give their perspectives. So, as I said, we're going to hear about navigating the job market in Poland, and then also just some basic steps to expect within the hiring process. And I'm going to just say a few words, and then I will hand it over to our co-presenter. Jezek is a consultant in fTeam recruitment team, and he specializes in recruitment for middle and senior level positions in finance, HR, and legal. And he has worked with a wide portfolio of clients such as Bain and Company, EY, Danfoss, Comperia, Elior Bank, Turk SA, MBMW, etc. And he graduated from Goldsmith University of London with a BA in Economics, Politics, and Public Policy. And to this day is fascinated by behavioral economics and its impact on the recruitment process. So thank you so much for joining us. And if you would like to share your screen with your presentation, that would be fantastic.
All right. Let me share that. I hope you can all see my screen right now.
Yes, we can.
Perfect. So, thank you for the invitation. I'm very happy to talk to you about the insider look at the job market in Poland. Of course, I'm a recruiter, so I may have maybe a couple of tips and tricks from my side, how you can maximize your chances of success on the market. So the first thing that I think is obviously the most basic and important when you want to start your journey with your application is to create an effective CV. Very often people also start with writing a cover letter, but I think start with putting that aside. Very rarely does anybody require a cover letter these days in recruitment processes. It takes quite a lot of time to write it properly, and most likely you won't need it. So let's skip that and focus on building a CV that will give you good effects. As you can see, as I've said in here, on average, recruiters spend only seconds on reviewing your CVs. So you really should focus on creating a CV that's very clear, very concise, very easy to understand. And I would advise to keep it quite short, 1 to 2 pages long, and focus on experience that's relevant to the jobs that you're applying for. So for example, your CV is going to look very differently if you're applying for a customer service jobs. Your CV is going to be looking differently if you're applying for an IT, let's say Java developer job. Of course, you should focus on the skills and the experience that you've had that is relevant to the job you're applying for. So that's one part of the effective CV. The other thing that I think is very often overlooked, and it's very important not only for CV writing, but then further on during the recruitment process as well, which is using your STAR methodology. So focus, when you write your CV, focus on your experiences and try to talk about them in the context of the situations you faced, the tasks you had to do, and then what you've done and what result that brought. I think it's incredibly important to make that very visible, very clear, and easy to read, so that recruiters can straight away see what are your accomplishments, what you've done, and that really makes you stand out in front of other people who apply for the same position. So once you already have created your clear and concise CV, I would move on to the next step, which is your LinkedIn profile. I don't know, what it looks like in Ukraine or on other markets outside of Poland. I can definitely vouch on Polish market that LinkedIn is maybe next to the CV your most important tool while looking for a job. 90% of recruiters use LinkedIn to find potential candidates. And definitely, I would even say that for many recruiters, if you're not on LinkedIn, you will not exist at all. So by just creating your LinkedIn page, you become visible on the market. You're going to be popping up on the searches whenever recruiters are going to be searching for candidates like you. So treat LinkedIn as your digital version of your CV. Another really good thing about LinkedIn is that what you can do is whatever you can't fit on your CV. Of course, as we said, we want to keep that CV short, to the point, and concise. So if you can't fit something on your CV, you can always put it on your LinkedIn website. You can put all of your courses, your experiences, your education, everything you've done, and everything that you think may be relevant in your job search can be on your LinkedIn page. Also, I think LinkedIn is very intuitive. It's very easy to create a very good profile on the social media. There's lots of tutorials on how to do it well. Even LinkedIn has tutorials like that. So I highly recommend that you have a look at that and start your LinkedIn journey. After you've created your profile, you should start inviting other people to your connections list on the website. That will definitely increase your visibility on the website, but also try to look and strategically invite people that may be, for example, recruiters in the companies that may be interesting for you, that you may be looking for a job at. So for example, if you're looking for a job in, let's say, Google, just look for recruiters in Google, in Warsaw, and then add them to your connections list. You can then directly message them as well. I'm sure that they'll accept your invitations. Recruiters also really like to have their big connections list. So definitely outreach and be a direct candidate, and don't be afraid. LinkedIn is literally a social media that the only reason for its existence is for you to get a job and for somebody to find employees. So leverage that tool is very, very powerful. The next step, since we already have our CV, our digital CV, is to start applying for jobs directly. And in here, my first and biggest piece of advice, and if you're going to take anything from what I say in here, I would say that's the main point that you should remember. You should apply in big volume. Don't be afraid to apply for many jobs at the same time. It really increases your chances of succeeding and actually getting interviews, which is what we're looking for. You don't have to be an ideal candidate. You don't have to be perfect for the role. If you have, in your estimation, 60% of what that job requires on the list, apply and don't be afraid. Very often, those job descriptions sound very scary, very complex, but the job is actually much more simple, or there are things that can be omitted and compromises that employers can make. So don't be afraid and apply as much as possible. And here I mean not in apply for 3 or 5 jobs that seem interesting to you and then let go, but apply in tens, ideally in hundreds. When I was applying for my job recently, I had a Excel spreadsheet where I'll just type in all of the positions I applied for. Then I could track it. If I knew that a recruiter would come back to me, I would make a checklist, and I would have a good control over where the projects are going, if I'm getting responses or not. And then the next step, obviously, if you apply a lot, you will have rejections coming your way. And that's a perfectly normal part of the process. Don't be afraid of rejections, accept them as part of the process. I think more often than rejections, you will just be ghosted. You won't get any response at all. And that is because recruiters literally are flooded with hundreds, sometimes thousands of CVs every week. And sometimes they just don't have time to even look at them. So don't be discouraged. Don't be afraid that you're, not ideal for the role or you get rejected. That means you can't go forward. It usually means nothing, or it means that the recruiters are just too busy to respond. So just stay consistent and motivated, keep your volume, apply to as many jobs as you possibly can. And then once you get your interviews, go back to the STAR methodology and really focus on telling the recruiters about your experiences, answering their questions through the situation, action, task, result methodology, and treat your job hunting experience as kind of a job in itself, as a full-time experience. So spend hours every day, block your time and really focus on the process. Don't get discouraged if it doesn't work straight away. Most likely from tens of applications that you will send, maybe 2 or 3 are gonna be taking you to the interview stage. And when you get to the interview stage, regardless of whether you move forward or you don't, ask your interviewees for feedback. You can do it at the end of the interview, you can do it after the process, and 10 out of I would say 9 out of 10 times, sometimes you may find a bad recruiter, but 9 out of 10 times you get feedback, and that will also give you lots of very valuable information about how you can change what didn't work out, what you can improve on in your next interviews. And I would say those are the most important steps. If we follow them, there is very, very high likelihood that you will get an interview. And so to summarize, focus on your CV, make it short, concise, to the point. Be active on LinkedIn, have your digital CV working for you as well. Apply a lot strategically for positions that are interesting to you, but not only for those where you're the perfect candidate. And think about volume as your friend, statistics as your friend, and then be really, really persistent with the process. Don't give up. And statistically speaking, you are meant to find success at some point. And so I'm very, very hopeful that you'll find this advice helpful to you. And thank you very much for giving it a listen.
Thank you so much. That was really insightful and I hope useful for everyone on the call today. I do want to open it up to questions for our job seekers. This is your chance to be face to face with a recruiter or someone who really knows what it takes to land a job. And no question is too simple or complicated, I would say, right? So feel free to either enter your question in the chat, or you can also unmute yourself and ask it to us directly. While you are all thinking maybe of your question, I have a question. So I was wondering, is there any, and this may be too broad to even say, but are there any top transferable skills that you typically look for?
I think something that is invaluable, and that's I would say it's a rule for every single position, for junior entry level jobs, for very high level professionals, and that is initiative. I think that if you can show that you have initiative in what you do, if you no matter what project you're on, or no matter what job you do, you have initiative, you have this energy to propose your own solutions, to go an extra mile. That's a very, very important thing to showcase. So if you can put that somehow on your CV, I would highly recommend that.
Great, thank you.
Of course, I would say if anybody's interested in connecting on LinkedIn, maybe asking me some more questions directly in a message, feel free to add me on the site. I'm gonna be very happy to give you some more information. And also, I'm a recruiter, so I also may have a job for you.
Wonderful. Maybe you can put your LinkedIn in our chat here, and I can also send it out after the call. One thing that has come up we do weekly LinkedIn optimization sessions in our program, and one topic that came up just this week, which I wanted to ask your insight on, was we were discussing the level of detail on the LinkedIn experience section. So you mentioned, what doesn't fit on the CV, you can put on the LinkedIn, which I think is always great advice, but specifically the star details, like those percentages or numbers. Some people said, well, what if it's not something I want the public to see, or it's something that is confidential. What would you say is like an appropriate level of detail typically for that section?
In terms of percentages or the outcomes of the projects you've been involved in, I think the more information, the better. I would definitely, if you can add a percentage, a quantifiable number that shows that thanks to what you've done, the sales increased by 10%, or something happens by X amount. That's always a great thing to add. But of course, if it's a confidential thing between you and your company, maybe keep that keep that to yourself, or keep that for the next stages of the interview, when you can have some sort of confidentiality with a recruiter. I think what is very important is not to just leave your page blank. Sometimes I see profiles where the only thing that you have is listed job titles, and job titles tell very little, especially in this day and age. They very often tend to be not that descriptive, sometimes mean very different things in very different companies, very different teams. So for example, an analyst in one company is going to be something completely different in a different company. So try to at least include your lists of responsibilities, of things that you do day to day. So even if you can't share details, about the precise results that you've achieved, try to at least incorporate information about what you actually do in the company, and what is your experience.
Yeah, that's really helpful. My last question is also about, you mentioned requesting feedback from the recruiter, which I think is super helpful. Of course, you won't always get it, but in your opinion, what would be the best way for a job seeker to go about requesting that feedback? Would it be to, reach out to their LinkedIn, send an email? There inundated with these messages every day. So I guess my sub question is, what's the best way to get your request seen by a recruiter?
So something that may seem a little awkward sometimes and requires a little bit of a lot of honesty on the side of recruiter and a little bit of bravery on the side of the job seeker is to ask for the feedback at the end of your interview. I get that, I would say once every 10 or 15 interviews, where at the end, when, I just summarize or ask if there are any more questions at the end of the interview, they ask, what do you think? How do I, compare to other candidates in your pipeline? And I think it's a very good question. Also shows a little bit of a curiosity on the side of the employee, and also openness for feedback. I feel like it's a good question to ask, even if you don't actually get any quality feedback because your recruiter, let's say, is not able to give you good quality feedback. It's a good information for the recruiter that you're open to feedback, you're interested, you're involved in the process. So I would definitely advise doing that. And since you already have that person on call, you already are chatting, they would be very likely to actually tell you something. Meanwhile, if you ask them, sometime after the interviews passed, like let's say the process is already finished, and then you send them an email or send them a direct message on LinkedIn, that may get lost somewhere. They may not have as much initiative to actually respond to that. So if you can, I would say ask straight after at the end of the interview that you have with them.
That's a good tip. I've never done that myself, so I'll keep that in mind. And I think also it goes back to what you mentioned with initiative, right? It's also demonstrating your initiative, your self-confidence, even if you don't get, let's say, the most valuable out of it. It's practicing that muscle.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I want to open it up again to invite our listeners any questions that you have. Based on your experience applying to positions, based on any difficulties you have had. And like we said, you're also welcome to reach out after our webinar and connect that way. I'll also invite our job coaches if they have any questions, maybe situations they've seen from their job seekers.
I would maybe add 2 points, maybe not like something new for you, but as Jędrzej already said, that your CV is the first touch point for the potential company, yes, that maybe would like to hire you in the future. So just a kindly reminder that we are here to help you, to find you, to make it best in class. So just connect with us, come back to us, because we are here to help you. And the second thing, the STAR model, it's absolutely really simple and really good model, easy to learn and to sell yourself to the potential employee. So if you have a question how it works, how it looks like, or if you need any help to prepare in the STAR model, feel free to contact with us. It is really important, even in this first sometimes short meeting, like a 10 minutes call, when is the first call from the employee, how to tell about yourself, to invite them to the further steps, so that they will invite you to the further steps. Yeah, so it's really important, the CV and the first 10 minutes calls can really decide about the inviting you or not inviting you to further steps. So feel free to contact with us and we'll help you in those two first really crucial steps. Yeah, so this is what I would like to add on what Jędrzej already said. Yeah, so maybe I will give some space to other people, but then we can, if the time will be enough, we can also tell you about on few words how it can look like from the manager perspective, who is, at the end, the most interested person to finding the best candidate to the position. Yeah.
Thank you, Ivana.
I will also share my comments. I'm also a job coach, and it's very good to start to think about yourself, what you achieved, not what you do. I mean, because a lot of people list duties, but do not think about the results, what they achieved. And like recruitment process is like selling yourself to the employer. So it's very important to start to think about examples, numbers, goals achieved in this terms.
Those are good points, Joanna. Thank you.
Yes, especially from this manager perspective. Yes, so your potential leader or a boss. I used to work over 20 years in different multinational companies, and I was responsible for different teams. And for me, the most important thing, if I am looking for the person, is not about the daily job they did, but what the added value they were bringing to the company. Yeah, and it doesn't mean that you have to have big numbers or, I don't know, crazy projects that you've been running. It doesn't matter. It is important if you feel that you are doing the good job and it's bringing the value to the company. So this is why it is important to show your result. And as I said, result, it's not always the number. It is, I was doing reports, but not just like doing Excels, but those Excel or those reports were needed to some, I don't know, part of the project, or it was the base to analyze something in the future and so on, or to make some decision and so on and so on. So this is sometimes the result. And from the managerial perspective, it's really important that people are aware of the job they are doing, not that just doing the stuff. Yeah. So I think this is really, that's why it's really important to put what was the outcome of my job. And it's not always the number, because, you know, it's easy for people from sales to say, oh, I increased the sales from X to Y. Yeah? But everyone who is doing a job, of course, I know that it can be much complex or less complex job, but at the end, I hope that everyone is doing something for something. Yeah, so that's why it is important to underline why and what for you did it. Yeah, so what was the outcome of your job?
Yeah, I think everybody understands what makes your job a good job, right? Like,
yeah,
if you,
meaningful job at the end.
Yeah, exactly. If you're serving customers, you know, even if you don't even have a lot of professional experience, and let's say you're looking for a customer service job in a call center, let's say, there's a lot of customer service related things that you have probably done in the past. You can see for, you know, look for customer satisfaction. If you don't have a precise number that you can talk about, you can't say that I increased sales by X amount or whatever. You can say my customers were giving me a very good reviews, very good feedback. My manager really appreciated me for X, Y, and Z. Mm-hmm. I've done this and that. Like, there's a lot of things that we can usually say, because we know when we do our job well. And I think, you know, CVs are a little bit about your ego, about showing to the world that you're the best at what you do and that you're a valuable person, that, you know, whoever is employing should have you on board. So think about what you've actually done, and really focus on the great parts, because I'm sure that there is something that is worth mentioning. And just as Joanna mentioned, listing just your duties is usually just not enough, because, you know, the question is whether you are doing the duties well. It's not about
exactly
what you are doing, but how you are doing this, and what was the outcome.
Exactly. Fully agree.
I have a question. Hello, everyone. Jędrzej, maybe to you from your perspective. A number of my job seekers are facing a dilemma of dual career. So, for example, a lady who's been in banking business for a number of years, and at this stage of her life, not only because she's in Poland now and past career was in Ukraine, but also for private reasons, for her, let's say, mindset reasons, she would like to start up a new career, let's say in something related to psychology, to coaching and stuff like that. However, she doesn't, she's not ready, and she doesn't want to cross out completely what she's been doing so far. Again, for two reasons. One practical reason is she needs to maintain cash flow, and she would be more employable with this banking experience. Plus, she wants to show to the, let's say, audience that she's not like out of blue someone who wanted to be a coach, but someone with quite a profound background in business. And so my question to you as a practitioner, how to best, let's say, describe it in the LinkedIn. So on one hand, it's easy for recruiters and potential employers, to Google that up. And also so it doesn't get lost in translation. And I've been struggling myself how to keep, the two in parallel, because I understand that one profile for one person is necessary. I advise them strongly not to have two, because you can have two CVs, but in the LinkedIn. So let's say from your perspective, if you were to look for, and yeah.
So I think in that case, obviously your CV, your LinkedIn is important, and I would definitely focus on transferable skills and really underlying those skills. So think about the job you're trying to reskill towards, and think what this job requires from you, both on the side of hard skills, so your knowledge, what tools can you use, what, let's say, programming languages can you use, or whatever that job may entail from that side, and think about those soft skills that this job will also require. And very often, especially if you're already a seasoned professional in one side, there is a lot of transferable skills that you can leverage when you want to do a career switch. So I'd really focus on underlying those things that are possibly important in that new endeavor. I think education and courses is super valuable. So you can definitely come up with a list of courses or skills that you can do outside of your current profession that will help you reskill towards a different path. And this is something you can put on your LinkedIn profile. And whenever a recruiter is looking through a key of certain skill or certain level of education, they'll find you, even though your job title may be a bit different at the moment. And I think also at the summary where you write about your professional career, like
the about section.
The about section. I would also advise to say that I am looking to move towards this direction. My long-term plan is to do this, and this, so I can achieve that point. So I think it's important for you to understand the path that you're going to have to do to be successful in that other place, and be very candid, honest about where you're at this journey. And I think for many employers, very often, especially big corporations, it's fine for people who are inside the corporation to change a direction. So if you're looking to switch careers, I think finding a very big company, or at least a company that will potentially give you an opportunity to change inside the structure of the company is probably the safest way to do that.
To accommodate your aspirations, for a change.
Because very often those big corporations, the things that they're looking for, if you already went through their recruitment process, if you already have proven yourself on a different level somewhere else in the company that you're good in doing all of those things, then very often, you can tell them, I would like to change my job. You can very honestly talk with HR. You can tell them, I'm actually thinking of changing the direction of my career. How can I do it within the company? I think companies like Procter and Gamble, those kinds of levels
big
of
ones, yeah.
corporations, they're extremely good in employing people at a certain stage, and then they really like the interpersonal qualities, the initiative, the transferable skills, and allow those people to choose their own path within the corporation. So that's a very good kind of method of finding a new path. I could talk a bit longer, but I think there's a great book that I could actually recommend.
Go ahead.
It's called So Good They Can't Ignore You by Carl Newport. It's absolutely phenomenal, probably the best book on the subject that exists, and he dives very deep into the concept of career capital, how to choose your journey in your professional life in such a way that will be both realistic and also will give you a lot of satisfaction and happiness. And I think that that concept of changing, switching, or maybe following your passion at some point of your life is a key theme in the book. He's kind of dismantling some of those ideas at the beginning. A very practical guide to leading your professional career. And I would recommend that book to everybody who's listening right now. I think it's probably the number one book I'm recommending in terms of thinking about building a professional career.
Super, thank you. Got it. I have another question, but I don't want to stop people if there are some other questions coming in. Okay, so maybe I'll go on with my question. Often, and probably my colleagues, other job seekers will agree, we have a struggle of people who are experienced, Ukrainians who are experienced, but let's say because of the language, and it's not that they don't speak Polish, but they don't speak professional Polish, and there is a question of maybe downgrading, especially for lawyers, for example, but not only lawyers, doctors and some other professions. And I'm asking the questions, how, from, let's say, your perspective, what kind of narrative would be convincing from the perspective of a recruiter if there is a person who is certainly with some maturity, experience, etc., but wants to apply for a job which is a little bit more junior compared to the CV? Maybe that's a rhetorical question because maybe there is no good answer, but let's say, what kind of narrative would be kind of you would buy from such a person, realistically?
So I don't know if I understand your question. I'll try to rephrase. So if somebody who's experienced, but let's say they're lacking the Polish language skills.
The language, or generally being a foreigner and not knowing the kind of overqualified type who is willing to, for self-comfort even, to step down a little bit to, let's say, tune into the situation, etc.
Yeah. It's a difficult question. I think you really have to think about whether you being from outside of Poland is in any way an actual disadvantage, because more often than not, especially in branches of let's say big corporate organizations, diversity is more of an advantage rather than not.
It's a flag, yes.
Yeah, so you can actually sometimes use it to your advantage, right? You can say that I have a diverse experience. I've been to places. I've seen a bit of world. I speak more than one language. I think this is generally a very advantageous list of skills. I can understand that there's a little bit of a kind of maybe confidence issue when you move to a different country and when you apply to jobs abroad. I know I went through it because I lived in the UK for a while, and I thought my English is so bad that I can't serve customers in a restaurant. So I would say for the most part, I would try to focus on overcoming those confidence issues. And if you think you have the skill set, if you think that you have the merit to do a job, just apply and let's see where it takes us. Worst case, you'll find out on the interview that maybe you're lacking something, but I'd rather not step down all during the recruitment process. Because there's no need to in many cases. But let's say that in some way for example, your lack of Polish skills are a disadvantage. Then obviously I think I would be very honest about that with the future employer. I could say, look, I don't speak fluent Polish at this stage. I'm very determined to learn. I know I have a very good expertise that you're going to find valuable in your team or in your company. I know because I've done it before on much higher level. I have done this and this. I have experiences with this. The only thing I lack is the fluency in the language. And if you're willing to actually learn the language, very likely in many cases the employee may make an exemption. They will say, okay, let's do a trial period, and maybe we'll see if this is going to be an issue. Some companies will not require this at all. My fiance, who lives in Poland, she is not Polish. She doesn't speak Polish. And she's been working in a Polish company based in Warsaw. She's very successful in there. Now she's working for a Lithuanian company that works in Warsaw, and she has not spoken a word of Polish at work yet. And she's very confident about her skills. She knows that she's bringing a good, valuable skill set to the team, and not even once was it a problem. Of course, she's working in social media, and she's building like an English speaking part of that. So for her, there's no direct blockage in that. But I would say try to be confident in your skills. And as long as you have the initiative, the willingness to learn, then and you're able to show it to the employer, you may very likely impress them enough that your language is not going to be. But it's a difficult thing, not that easy to.
I said it's to some extent it's a rhetorical question because it's kind of. But I just wanted to hear your perspective. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for asking that question, because I think it is important for our job seekers, on this call and in general, to hear that they have value and that their international experience, their multilingual experience is something valued on the job market, despite the challenges that they face, or the difficulties of going into a whole new culture and doing the applications in a system that they're not familiar with. So I appreciate that perspective, and I just want to underline that for everyone on the call, that focusing on what you're bringing to the table is a really great strategy.
Yeah, and I would even add an extra thing, which is, let's be really frank about Polish demographics. We are very strongly reliant now on influx of workers from abroad. People like you are literally what builds our economy right now, and you're very important, very valued, and crucial for most big, small businesses in Poland. And more and more people in Poland need to also use here and there maybe Russian, maybe Ukrainian, maybe other foreign languages, and coming to the market, I would say without Polish is maybe a disadvantage in some ways, but if you're already speaking English, you have a huge advantage in here, because I very often talk with Polish job seekers who don't speak English, and I think like this is sometimes even a bigger disadvantage on the market these days, especially in big corporations. So Polish market is very dynamically changing. Year by year, there's more and more and more companies that use English as their main language of communication. We have migrants from all over the world. Now, I think especially obviously from Ukraine. So I think give it a couple more years, it's gonna be completely different, and it's already changed immensely in the past 10 years or so. So I think we're gonna be moving in the direction where the more languages, the more diversity in the company, the better, and people will eventually speak multiple languages anyway, because that's what the demographics requires in this part of the world right now.
One more question came to my mind, if I may, and that is about salary expectations. It's been always, a difficult question. How is it these days? Your experience, your impressions, and because of course it is this qui pro quo type of thing, because having been a recruiter myself, you need to know the candidate's expectations. Of course, you have your budget. You wouldn't share the budget, and kind of, two people wanting to figure out the thing about the other person. But how is it? What's the practice these days when it comes to talking about the money?
Yeah, I can give you a tip that's maybe a recruiter's insight into that, and something that works very often,
Please.
even though it sometimes shouldn't. But just ask the recruiter what's the budget for the role. And very often they'll tell you. Sometimes even though they shouldn't, because very often there is a confidentiality agreement between the recruitment and depends whether that's an in-house recruiter or an agency recruiter. There is usually a confidential budget. Some companies are very open about their budgets. So, for example, there is a website that I recommended, noflavjobs.com. That's a Polish job board. It's one of the biggest Polish job boards for IT professionals. Pretty much all of the jobs in there have budgets listed already. So while applying, you can already see the budget for the role. And it's very, very transparent, very open, very similar to Hello HR.pl. That's also a very similar case. They list budgets for the roles very often. I would say, during the interview, there's a lot of this, ping pong with a recruiter. What's the budget for the role? Well, what do you think it is? What is the market rate?
What would you like it to be?
What would you like it to be? What is your aspiration? What is your minimum? I think there is a lot of information on the internet that you can find, even if you can literally type, let's say, financial analyst zarobki or pay in Poland. You will get lots of reports, websites that will give you at least, those budgets are usually a very wide range, but at least they give you some sort of range to aim for. So look for, whatever is comfortable for you at the beginning. I would say if this is your first job in Poland, it's very important to get your foot in the door. So once you already get a job, and you already have a job, it's much easier to then negotiate and look for a higher salary. So, you know, compare yourself to when you're unemployed and you're kind of desperate to get whatever job, then you're way more likely to accept the lowest possible budget for the role, and maybe you're going to get underpaid. But once you already have accepted that role, you can then re-engage in recruitment in some time, and then you can be very honest. This is what I earn right now. I would like to earn that much more, and be very, very clear, very honest. You can be very transparent with recruiters. You can say, I'm not going to go below this this rate, and that's a very clear, understandable
Message, yeah.
message.
Super, thank you.
I have a question that's coming to mind right now, and it's you know, with job seekers who are not familiar with working with a recruiter, how would they go about beginning to establish like those relationships, or how would they even start based off of their industry to find, you know, basically a recruiter to work with?
So I think the most important thing is to differentiate between the two types of recruiters. You have an agency recruiter that works in a recruitment agency, and it's a separate company that then gets hired by other companies to find people to fill certain positions. And then there are in-house recruiters that work directly in the company that they are recruiting for. So if you're looking to create relationships with recruiters in a certain company, or if you're looking for a job in a certain company or in a certain industry, I would highly recommend that you directly look for recruiters that recruit in that company or in that industry that you're interested in. So that would be the first thing to start. And you can literally just type in to the search bar recruiters at Amazon, or recruiters at Microsoft, or recruiters at whatever other company that you're interested in, and then invite them and write a message. Can be very, very short note. Hi, I'm this and this. I'm a professional in that area with this amount of experience. I'm looking for a job in this area. I'll be happy to connect, and very likely they will connect. You know, it doesn't guarantee you anything, but it gives you the opportunity. It creates opportunities for yourself to maybe you know, get into contact with people that will be valuable contacts. And then further on, if you accumulate a lot of those recruiters, you will see that they post very often, and they post every new job that they open for the company. So whenever you go to LinkedIn, you look through your feed, it's just going to be a feed full of job posts from recruiters that work in companies that you're interested in. So that's like a very clear strategy to actually see and be, you know, the first person to see that this company is recruiting for that position. That's interesting to you. So that's one thing. Another thing is, when you're talking with the agency recruiters, they're usually specialized. Like, for example, I specialize in recruitment for HR, legal, and finance. So obviously, I'm the best person to contact when it comes to HR, legal, and finance recruitment positions. But if you're looking for other jobs, let's say you're looking for a job in IT, type into the search bar IT recruitment or tech recruiter, and you'll likely get lots of people who specialize only in this side of recruitment. And you know, you can go through endless pages of people on LinkedIn. There's really thousands of us on that website. So you know, even there's a, I think 200 invitation limit a week on the website, so you can literally max out your invitation permit on LinkedIn every single week. And you will expire before you manage to invite all of us and contact all of us. So really it's an endless resource, and really highly recommend to just go and do it, because it's free. And it can really highly impact your chances of finding new opportunities.
Yeah, that's excellent advice. Thank you. So everyone on the call, make sure you go do that in the next weeks. I know that in the US, this was an issue from some of my job seekers. I don't know if it's an issue in Poland to verify the, I guess, trustworthiness of recruiters they're finding online. Is there any red flags that people should look for?
Yeah, great question. I actually spoke about that with some reporters lately, because I've been getting a lot of phishing scams on LinkedIn, and I would say be very wary of any links that you get. Obviously, on LinkedIn, everything should be transparent. So when you go to somebody's somebody's profile page, it's usually very clear where they work, how many connections they have, what they post about. So if you see a trustworthy looking profile, which is, a good photo, a good work history, a history of posting, having a lot of connections, and the message is clear, then that's much more likely that this is a real person. But sometimes even a real person can send you a link because their account is hacked, and I've seen that happen on LinkedIn as well. So I think something that's incredibly important is to just not click into any links in messages. Sometimes you may have a situation where a recruiter is going to tell you, oh, I'm looking for people for this interesting project. I think you're very good for the position. Check more information on that link. You click into that link, then that's going to send you to a website where you have to put your password in, or download some files with a presentation or something that seems legit, but it's not. Usually when you get a link, when you get some sort of weird source that seems fishy, I would say just ask for further information. Say, oh, thank you for the information. Unfortunately, you can literally say, I don't click in links from unknown accounts. Would you provide some more information about the projects that you're talking about? And then they usually are going to either ghost you and not respond, or they'll come up with some other elaborate stories without actually telling you what the project is about. And then just don't waste your time, block them, ideally report them, and move on. I would say you're probably especially vulnerable to those kind of situations because you're looking for a job, and if you're interested in finding something new, then maybe you're going to be more likely to click something that looks interesting. But just be wary of that. Check the companies, check the profiles, ask for more details, for more questions, and just don't click any links that lead you somewhere where you don't exactly know where that is. So be wary of that. That doesn't happen often, but may likely happen to you at some point.
Yes, thank you for that. We are at time. This was a wonderful and very insightful conversation. Thank you so much, Jędrzej, for presenting and discussing all of these things with us. I will be sharing out the recording, and do I have your permission to share the slides that you shared as well?
Yeah.
Okay. And yeah, if you have any other questions, you can reach out to your job coach, to me, or add Jędrzej on LinkedIn. So have a great rest of your evening. Thank you again, and everyone take care.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you. Special thank you to Jędrzej. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Cheers, guys. Bye, ladies. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
And good luck.
Bye.